Joining us now, Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Gregg, thanks for being with us tonight. I've been looking forward to talking with you all day because I want to understand, I can see myself in that congregation on a Sunday morning and these wackos coming in, threatening kids, threatening the pastor. And I want to understand the entirety of the legal book that can be thrown at people who do this. You've got to know the answer to that.
Well, Brian, the whole book should be thrown at them. And there's Don Lemon, recording it all happily, claiming everybody has a right to do this. No, they don't. Lemon doesn't seem to know that the right to protest does not extend to private property and certainly not to churches, which are protected spaces under law. So that mob you see on the screen that stormed the church, harassed and terrorized the congregation during a church service can and should be prosecuted for a variety of crimes, and they would include trespass, disorderly conduct, disturbing a religious meeting, importantly, violating the FACE Act of federal law that protects houses of worship from threats and intimidation. And, Don Lemon himself could also be prosecuted as a willing participant. He joined in, embedded with the anti-I.C.E. agitators, knowing full well that they intended to commit crimes. And, calling yourself a journalist, that's not a defense. The First Amendment is not a shield from criminal charges, which makes Don Lemon the dope that we've all come to realize.
Gregg, in terms of the FACE Act, I just want to note that it was the Biden administration and his Department of Justice that so aggressively used the FACE Act against I won't even call them protesters. They were people, small groups of people who were praying in front of abortion clinics. And there were people who were elderly people sentenced to long prison terms for doing that. So finally, will be used in a rightful, righteous way. Also, this opens the door for the feds to deeply investigate the money flows into who is paying these people who stormed this worship service.
Yeah, anarchists was a good description by your previous guests. And, some of them admit openly and on camera that they're being paid. Well, who's paying for this? And so follow the money. And I think one of the ways to do it is anybody in that congregation can file a class action lawsuit on behalf of the people there who were intimidated and terrorized. And that would open the door immediately to discovery, in which you can find out who's behind, supporting financially these groups of agitators and anarchists.
Gregg, you've got a kind of a related issue of these protesters, agitators, rioters doing sit-ins at Target locations, okay? And they're doing this because they think that Target's supposed to become an activist like them in the streets. Now, Target's response, I think, has been pretty tepid at this point. But what strikes me, Gregg, is if you don't prosecute the people doing this at churches and at stores, they're going to do it in every single private location where normal people are trying to live their lives. And it really is going to turn it. Anarchy is not going to be an extreme word. It is going to be the simplest word to describe what's happening.
Yeah, they're not only, Brian, holding demonstrations like that you see at Target, but they're trying to hunt down ICE agents out on the streets, groups and individuals, for the purpose of harassing or impeding ICE from carrying out their duties of enforcing the law. Well, that is a crime. It's also obstruction of law enforcement. And if you conspire with others, as they appear to be doing, that's a conspiracy crime. So, it doesn't surprise me the DOJ has opened a wide investigation that also includes Governor Walz, Mayor Fry. Walz was ginning up the street rage, publicly accusing ICE of atrocities, brutality. Then Fry joined in with dangerous, profane rhetoric. yelling at a news conference, "Get the F out of Minnesota." What happened immediately after that? Well, the violence escalated. So the legal question then becomes, did those two further inflame or incite violence, which is a crime? Words matter. If you encourage unrest and it results in violence and jeopardizing lives, there are consequences under the law.
Gregg Jarrett, thank you so much for being here. Great to see you.